This story tells of true love and devotion, which began as a beautiful fairy tale but ended in tragedy and injustice, bringing many to tears. The events unfold in 1994 in the city of Jagraon, in the Indian state of Punjab. There lived a handsome young man named Jassi Sidhu, whom friends and family affectionately called Mithu. Mithu made a living as a rickshaw driver, a small vehicle for transporting passengers. And in his free time, he was passionate about kabaddi, an ancient, popular team game that combines elements of wrestling and petanque. Mithu was a well-known and strong kabaddi player in Jagraon, leading his team to victories. In November 1994, a girl named Jassi Sidhu, or Jassi for short, came to visit the city where Mithu lived. From the locals, she immediately heard about the popular kabaddi player Mithu and wanted to meet him. Jassi found out that the young man worked as a rickshaw driver. One day, Jassi and her mother were waiting at a stop when a rickshaw pulled up, driven by Mithu. The girl and her mother got in the back seat and set off along the route with the other passengers. Mithu immediately noticed the charming stranger. The girl appealed to him. When their eyes met, Jassi became shy and lowered her gaze. Upon reaching their stop, the girl and her mother got out. Jassi looked at Mithu, their eyes meeting and lingering on each other for a moment. Jassi smiled, and the rickshaw drove on. When Mithu's workday came to an end, he returned home after dark. The young man was resting in his room when suddenly he heard shouts outside, "Help, please, we need help." Mithu rushed out of the house and saw two girls on the road. One of them was the same modest stranger he had driven earlier that day. Jassi was with her friend. It turned out that the girl's scooter had broken down and they were asking for help. The young man greeted them, tried to start the two-wheeler, but to no avail. Then Mithu introduced himself and wanted to get to know the girls better. However, it turned out that Jassi only spoke English. She didn't know Punjabi, the language the young man spoke. So Jassi's friend began translating Mithu's words to the girl and vice versa. Mithu managed to fix the scooter and also learned the address where Jassi was staying, saying he would visit her. The girl was currently staying with relatives about a 15-minute drive from Mithu's house. At the time they met, Mithu was 22 years old and Jassi was 19. Mithu came from a poor family, his parents were farmers. The young man's education was limited to secondary school. The very next day, late in the evening, Mithu arrived at the house where Jassi was temporarily living. The girl was not allowed to receive guests, so she secretly communicated with Mithu through the window. They held each other's hands, trying to talk, although they didn't understand most of the words. But they felt they had fallen head over heels for each other. Mithu and Jassi began dating. Jassi was born in India, but a couple of years later her family moved to Canada. They lived in a spacious house together with other close relatives. Jassi grew up in strict conditions. She was not allowed to freely hang out with friends. Her parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins shielded her from anything negative and constantly watched over her. As seen in these frames, Jassi is dancing in a dark sari. The girl liked Indian clothes and music. Western culture did not appeal to her at all. Jassi was quiet, modest, and polite, did well in school, and earned a higher education in Canada. In 1994, she and her mother Malkit Kaur came to India to visit her maternal grandparents. Mithu learned that the home of Jassi's grandparents was considered one of the richest in their area. They owned land and were respected. Jassi's family had a big business in Canada. Since the girl's father had begun suffering from schizophrenia at a young age, all important matters were handled by Jassi's uncle, her mother's brother Surjit Singh. Mithu realized that Jassi's family was influential both in India and Canada, with wealth in the millions. Mithu, on the other hand, was a simple worker with no money or property. The young man thought that when Jassi found out about his poverty, she would leave him. But the girl was not bothered by this at all. She chose Mithu not for status or wealth, but for his kindness and wonderful soul. Several weeks passed. The day was approaching when Jassi and her mother were to return to Canada. The girl's relatives had no idea about her secret romance with the poor man. Jassi was very sad and didn't want to part with Mithu. The young man comforted her. A few days before the flight, Jassi purposely damaged her passport. She lied to her mother that she had lost the document and now could not return to Canada. The relatives scolded the girl, and Malkit Kaur flew back alone. Jassi stayed in India for another 20 days while a new passport was made for her. All this time, she met secretly with Mithu. And in January 1995, the girl flew to Canada. Despite the huge distance, the connection between Mithu and Jassi did not break. They wrote letters to each other, Jassi in English and Mithu in Punjabi. Friends helped with the translation. It is worth noting that Jassi even attended Punjabi courses in Canada to be able to talk to Mithu on the phone and understand his language. In their letters, the lovers arranged phone calls. Jassi would call from her parents' home, and Mithu would receive the calls in a street phone booth at a precisely designated time. This went on for 4 years, and their long-distance love only grew stronger. The year 1999 came, and Jassi's family flew to India again. This time, her relatives had an important mission, to marry off 24-year-old Jassi to a suitable match. Uncle Surjit Singh found a suitable groom for his niece, a wealthy landowner. He had recently turned 60 and was the same age as the uncle. Jassi reacted negatively to the news of the planned wedding with the elderly man. The girl stated that she did not want to marry someone who could be her father. Meanwhile, Jassi continued to hide from her family that she had already been secretly dating Mithu for 4 years. The girl was well aware that if her secret was revealed, her relatives would immediately turn away from the poor young man and might even harm him. But one day, Jassi still dared to confide in her aunt, with whom she sometimes shared her innermost thoughts. She told her about the romance. "If I don't marry Mithu, I will die without him," Jassi confessed to her aunt. Mithu, Jassi, and her aunt discussed the situation and decided that the lovers should get married. They hoped that after the wedding, Jassi's relatives would have no choice but to accept Mithu. On March 15, 1999, Mithu and Jassi went to the Gurdwara and secretly got married. After the ceremony, Jassi returned home, and none of her family suspected anything. At the same time, Jassi's engagement to the older man chosen by her uncle was constantly being postponed and eventually cancelled altogether. Jassi stayed in India for 2 months, during which she continued to secretly see Mithu. When it was time to return to Canada, the girl promised her husband that she would come back soon. The couple did not stop communicating by phone, as by that time there was already a telephone line in Mithu's house. Several months passed. At the beginning of 2000, Jassi's Indian relatives found out about her secret wedding and immediately informed the girl's parents. Jassi's mother and uncle reacted extremely negatively to this news. They demanded that the girl immediately break off her relationship with the poor man. Jassi was locked in the house, forbidden to leave her room and use the phone. A few days later, Malkit Kaur's mood suddenly changed. She approached her daughter and said, "Jassi, what's done is done. We as a family have decided to accept your relationship. We will arrange a lavish wedding for you in India, and then we will help Mithu move to Canada." This news greatly pleased the girl. A few days later, her mother handed Jassi a stack of documents and asked her to sign them. "This is necessary to bring Mithu to Canada," her mother explained. Jassi looked through several pages. The text indeed concerned her husband. Among the papers, there were also some blank forms. Not attaching any importance to this, the girl signed each sheet. Later, on one of these blank sheets, Jassi's relatives printed the following. "I, Jasvinder Kaur Sidhu, declare that Sukhvinder Singh Sidhu, also known as Mithu, abducted me, attacked me, and at gunpoint forced me to marry him. As soon as I had the chance, I fled from him to Canada, to my family." Jassi's relatives sent this piece of paper to the police in the state of Punjab, India. Based on this statement, Mithu was arrested and accused of kidnapping the girl, forcing her into marriage, and illegally possessing weapons. The young man was kept behind bars for several months. During this time, Jassi, who was in Canada, continued to write letters to her husband in India but received no reply. Mithu also did not answer phone calls. From a friend, Jassi learned that her beloved had ended up in prison. The girl immediately realized that her relatives were to blame, who had tricked her into signing the documents, which caused serious problems for Mithu and his loved ones. 2 of his relatives and 2 friends were also jailed. Jassi managed to call Mithu. He was angry at his wife, not understanding how she could have done this to him. Jassi said that her own mother and uncle had deceived her, and now they were keeping her locked up and not allowing her to go outside. Soon, with the help of the Canadian police, Jassi was able to escape to India. It is believed that she was assisted by her father, who suffered from schizophrenia, and her own brother. The girl immediately turned to the police in the state of Punjab with a request to release Mithu, his relatives, and friends. Jassi stated that they were not guilty of anything since she had married out of great love. Mithu and his loved ones were released. The couple was reunited. Jassi remained in India, promising her husband never to return to Canada again. The young couple began to hide, living in constant fear. In June 2000, Mithu brought Jassi to his uncle's house. And just a couple of days later, on June 7, they received a call from Vancouver, Canada. Mithu's uncle answered the phone. On the other end of the line, he heard a woman's voice. It was Malkit Kaur. She asked to call Jassi to the phone. The girl warily approached the device and heard her mother's voice. "Daughter, what have you done?" "Well, it doesn't matter now, it's no longer important. Everything that happened is in the past, we will arrange a grand wedding for you," I explained everything to everyone. "Don't worry, Jassi, don't be anxious about anything." After talking to her mother, Jassi beamed with happiness. A few hours later, the phone rang again. It was Malkit Kaur, but this time she wanted to talk to Mithu. The woman spoke sternly and seriously. "Mithu, you did the wrong thing. You don't even realize what you've done. You will have to pay dearly for this." Then Jassi's uncle Surjit Singh grabbed the phone and said loudly, "You don't even understand what family you've gotten involved with. Your actions will haunt you, even your descendants will remember what you did and who you messed with. Have you forgotten who you are? Have you forgotten your place?" Mithu silently hung up the phone. He did not tell his wife about this unpleasant conversation from Canada. The man began to worry, realizing that he and Jassi would never be left alone. The couple planned to celebrate their reunion on June 12. So on June 8, the girl suggested that her husband take a walk with her through the shops. At first, Mithu refused, believing it was dangerous to leave the house. Jassi became sad. After thinking a bit, Mithu decided that he could quickly take his wife to the store after all. After lunch, the young couple got on the scooter and headed to the local market to buy an outfit for Jassi. Jassi chose a beautiful dress and paid for the purchase. Then the young couple had coffee, got on the scooter, and headed home. The journey was long, and the vehicle broke down 4 times along the way. The couple even had to ask a mechanic for help. It was getting dark, but Mithu and Jassi were in no hurry to return home. Mithu's parents began to worry. Late in the evening on June 8, they were informed that their son was in the hospital in serious condition. As for Jassi, she could not be found anywhere. When the parents rushed to the hospital, Mithu was unconscious. A couple of hours later, he came to. The man had a serious head injury. As soon as Mithu's condition stabilized, he was able to tell the police in detail what had happened to him and Jassi after their trip to the market. According to Mithu, on the way home, he noticed that 2 unknown men on a scooter were following them, but after a while, the pursuers fell behind. When the couple had almost reached home, they saw a car ahead, from which 6 men got out and blocked the road. Mithu and Jassi stopped, not understanding what was going on. Suddenly, the strangers took out sticks and began beating the young couple. Mithu fought back, trying to protect his wife, but he was also hit on the head from behind. The man lost consciousness and fell to the ground. The attackers, deciding that Mithu was dead, dragged him to the nearest ditch and threw him there. And where Jassi had disappeared to, no one knew. Fortunately, a couple of hours later, workers passing by the ditch noticed Mithu and took him to the hospital. The police of Punjab launched an active search for the missing girl. The very next day, on June 9, Jassi was found not far from the place where the bandits had left Mithu. Jassi was dead. Law enforcement officers counted dozens of deep wounds on her body. And a fatal knife wound was inflicted right on the neck. Having discovered Jassi's body, the police contacted her relatives in Canada and sent them a photo of the deceased for identification. However, neither Malkit Kaur nor Surjit Singh confirmed that the murdered girl was their Jassi. The girl was identified by Mithu, his parents, and friends. It is noteworthy that neither the mother or the uncle of the deceased flew to India, did not take the body, did not bury Jassi, and did not explain their inaction in any way. The Punjab police immediately began investigating this high-profile case. During the search, the officers quickly managed to detain the notorious criminal Anil Kumar. During the interrogation, Anil Kumar immediately confessed to everything. He said that a few days before the crime, Police Inspector Jaginder Singh approached him and ordered the murder of Mithu. Anil Kumar and Jaginder Singh were arrested. The latter admitted during interrogation that Darshan Singh, the uncle of the deceased Jassi, who lived in Punjab, was to blame for everything. Darshan Singh promised a generous reward, 3 lakhs, about $4,000. But why, if the order only concerned Mithu, did the bandits get rid of Jassi as well? As Anil Kumar reported, after he and his 5 accomplices beat up Mithu, they decided that he was dead. The criminals threw the young man into a ditch, and Jassi, who was already unconscious at that moment, was put into a car and taken to an empty farmhouse. When Jassi came to her senses, she began asking about Mithu. The bandits told her that he was dead. After that, Anil called Malkit Kaur and handed the phone to Jassi. Her mother ordered her daughter to return to Canada immediately. Jassi understood everything. Enraged, she shouted into the phone. "Mom, what have you done? Mom, you betrayed me. I will tell everyone the truth about what you did. What a disgusting mother you are." Anil snatched the phone from Jassi and began talking to Malkit Kaur himself. The woman asked him to wait a bit. She spoke with her brother Surjit Singh for a few minutes, and then passed the information on to Anil. On the instructions of the mother and uncle, the bandits began threatening Jassi, demanding that she testify against Mithu and return to Canada. But the girl continued to resist. Then Anil called Malkit Kaur again and reported that Jassi refused to listen to them and obey. The mother gave her consent for Jassi to be killed right now. And Uncle Surjit Singh promised the criminals another 3 lakhs. After the confessions of Anil Kumar and Jaginder Singh, the police detained 11 more people, including Jassi's uncle Darshan Singh. Malkit Kaur and Surjit Singh, who were in Canada at the time, also became the main suspects. The trial in the case of Jassi's murder and the attack on Mithu began both in India and Canada. It was believed that it was Malkit Kaur and Surjit Singh who instructed Darshan Singh to get rid of Mithu. Darshan Singh turned to Police Inspector Jaginder Singh, who then gave the corresponding order to Anil Kumar and his gang. After a lengthy trial, in October 2005, 11 out of 13 people were found guilty. However, many were later released on bail. In India, real prison sentences were given to Anil Kumar, police officer Jaginder Singh, and Jassi's uncle Darshan Singh. Now regarding Mithu. After the man recovered and was discharged from the hospital, 7 criminal cases were immediately initiated against him. Mithu was accused of illegal possession of weapons and trade in prohibited substances. In addition, a woman appeared who claimed that Mithu had forced her into intimacy. In total, The man spent 4 years behind bars before he was able to prove his innocence. Mithu admitted that he repeatedly received threats from the family of the deceased Jassi. The girl's parents demanded that he renounce his testimony. It is also known that Jassi's relatives offered Mithu a considerable amount of money and a large plot of land. But he did not succumb to persuasion, bribery, or intimidation. After Jassi's death, her mother Malkit Kaur and uncle Surjit Singh continued to live in Canada, remaining suspects. The Punjab police filed a request for their extradition to India. Only in 2012 were the mother and uncle found guilty. At that time, it was known that Malkit Kaur worked at a waste processing plant, and Surjit Singh was a temple servant. 2 years later, in September 2014, their extradition to India was finally agreed upon. However, the suspects filed an appeal, and the trial was delayed again. And only in January 2019 did police from Punjab fly to Canada to arrest Malkit Kaur and Surjit Singh and bring them to India. Jassi's mother and uncle spent only 4 days behind bars in Punjab, after which they were released on bail. Now, 24 years have passed since the crime, and the case is still being considered in court. Anil Kumar and police officer Jaginder Singh continue to serve their sentences in prison. Jassi's uncle Darshan Singh, after spending 15 years in prison, was eventually able to prove his innocence. Currently, he is in hiding, and his exact whereabouts are unknown. Malkit Kaur and Surjit Singh live in India and avoid meetings with journalists. They do not comment on issues related to Jassi. Mithu says that he has a difficult fate. He never married again. After Jassi's death, the man has dedicated and continues to dedicate his whole life to the fight for justice. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Until next time, friends.